I'd like to share some thoughts and maybe some personal sort of stories about me, something that happened to me 6 years ago, and how relevant it is to what's going on right now today. So about 7 years ago, I was what, for want of a better expression, a normie. I would just watch the news. I'd sort of believe everything I seen in the news. I'd be listening to people like Jeremy Vine, and I would believe that what was being said and the outcome was the best way for society. I'd watch the BBC. I would love the royal family. Everything that you know that what you would call like the average person does nowadays and back then. Now there's a lot of similarities to what's going on today, to what happened to me next. The first thing that happened to me was that I made a decision in my life, and I didn't feel right about myself, and I made a decision in my life to become healthier. So I did a really intense training regime called Insanity. If anybody knows about it, it is literally insane. You live off of seeds and nuts. It's literally a very strict diet. Seeds, nuts, live yogurts, things like that. So you change your eating habits, you cut out all the rubbish. Gives you clarity of thought, your vision goes clearer, everything. And during that training regime, I was doing a full-time job as a builder. So you have to excuse me today as well. I'm working on cars at the moment. I was doing a full-time job as a builder, and it was very tough, but I managed to come home and stick to that regime of that training course exactly to the T. And anybody who knows it was very hard to do with an office job, let alone climbing around on roofs or anything all day. As a result, when I got to about week 6.5, something like that, there was a certain exercise that put my lower back out. As a result of that, I was led over a large bean bag, for 3 weeks, face down. It's the only way I could take away the intense pain. The doctors gave me all the medication that they could possibly prescribe, but I was very reluctant to take the medication. But at times the pain was so intense that tears would literally be falling down my cheeks, just silent tears, just because I couldn't take it anymore. Had to take a little bit of medication. And I'm led down the carpet, and I'm thinking to myself, you start getting all these red letters and things going on. You're always living paycheck to paycheck as an average person. Keep you on that sort of starvation level, where you just manage. And I started questioning what was going on around the world, and questioning, there's no help for me now. I realised that, and this is me, and everything rests on me, and now I'm not well. And trying to give my kids the best start I could in life and everything else. Laying face down on that carpet for that time made me. There was only one place I could go, and that was within, thinking about everything, judging my life. Literally, I was the judge, the juror, everything of my life, right from start to finish. And you get alone with your own thoughts. And as a part of that, I realised that I could watch on the mobile phone. I could watch YouTube. But you start researching, like, maybe other people have these thoughts, and why is the world this way or whatever. And it leads you from one thing to another. I'm led face down on the carpet. Remember, I'm either resting my forehead directly on the carpet, or I'm putting my clenched fist underneath my chin, or underneath my forehead until the pain's too intense, and then I'm back to somewhere different to try and get, keep this pain at bay. And I was just far enough away to be able to watch a video or just observe a video, but shut my eyes maybe and listen to it. So that was really good. Part of that was you realise that you're not alone in your way of thoughts, and things aren't right around the world, and everything's like, it's almost like a commercial world. It's not anything to do with actually living. Leads you down one path and another, but that was what happened to me. And as a result of that, 6 years ago, I went from being the complete run-of-the-mill normie. BBC is the most accurate news source in the world. And all this sort of junk. Quite comical, really. And you know, to where to a point where I questioned all of that, and then what happened to me then was that I started feeling anger. You know, that sort of fear went into anger, and I was very passionate that the only way to protect my family and give my kids a future is to fight against this commercial world we live in. And I thought the answer to that was going out and marching down the streets of London. So there I am. A good friend of mine labels it a sperm face, but I wore the anonymous mask, hood up, loads of little sperm swimming through the streets of London, you know, begging to be accepted, sort of thing. You know, it is no matter which way we look at that form of protesting, it is begging. Please give me this, please give me that, don't do this to me anymore, don't do that to me anymore. That's begging. You realise that it's an evolution. That's why I left my channel, because you can see where someone starts and where they are now, if indeed I'm anywhere at all, you know. But you can see the mind changes, even though maybe the life doesn't change, the mind changes over time, and you get a bit more wiser. There was definitely a spiritual awakening during all that period, and because there was experiences I had as a result of thinking different, my cognition was wired up different. I was always different anyway, but an oddball to everybody. But you sort of shelter that over by just watching the news and repeating what everybody else repeats, talking about the weather, all that sort of junk. And I realised then when my brain started being wired up different, I had experiences that proved to me that the world wasn't what it seemed, that you were able to see visions of the future, that leads you on to finding others who've had similar experiences, and then psychologists who talk about this experience, and then scientific papers that have been written on this experience, and how, you know, I'm not going to go into that on this video. It's just it's too much. But yeah, as a result of that, you know, I think the relevance of that for today is that people are being forced to stay at home and go within their own thoughts for 3 weeks at the moment, maybe longer. And as a result of that, people are going to be start to be looking. Why is it all like this? You know, something's not right with all this going on at the moment. It just doesn't add up. The risk of loss of life coming from the very actions that our governments take, for instance, is far outnumbers anything that this virus could do. You know, I think this is one of the best opportunities that have ever come our way. Personally, I think that a lot of people are going to have to sit in their front room. Some are just going to watch TV and all their mainstream, see it as an opportunity to catch up on their mainstream programs and you know, and sort of, you know, whatever else they got to do. And other people will use it as a pure opportunity to be creative, to get stuff done around the home that they've always wanted to do, maybe get everything up together, clear their minds, sit there and think about what the world's about, what's important to them, what's not important to them, who's there for them actually in their hour of need, and who's just nowhere to be seen. A lot of relationships are going to break down as a result of all this, because people won't be able to be around certain people. Remember that the changing cognition that's happening at the moment, the ramifications, the world will never be the same again. Not in a negative way, in a positive way. It will never be the same again. People will change their spending habits. People will change their friends. You know, what they think about relationships, where they go, what they do. Everything is going to change, and the people will find themselves in a position where they won't be able to be the person they were before. It won't be a matter of just, oh, I'm going to choose to be different now. It will be that the ideal of what they did before would or what they were doing, and their thoughts from before will be absolutely revolting to them. They'd be like, that's not me. You know, pre this happening, that was someone different. Moving on, there's someone completely different coming out of that, like a birth. Same thing, you know, why I like the analogy that a good friend of mine did about being a sperm face in those marches for Anonymous. You know, there's all these sperms fighting for acceptance, and then, you know, the odd few pop out. And yeah, as a result of what's going on now, I think it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. people who are ready or poised there with haven't bought into any of. Obviously, there's an element of fear and everything else that goes into everything, but they haven't really bought into anything. They've not gone. No crusaders. You don't need to be a crusader at this time. This video is not a crusader video. It's not telling people that you should stand up, you should do this, you should do that. It's none of that. It's a matter of following yourself. If you don't follow what nature wants you to follow within you, as in what feels right in your heart, and make those drastic changes despite the uncertainty and the fear, you need to overcome that. If you don't make those changes, nature will get worse and worse towards you until you're forced to make those changes. And then when you don't really want it to get to that stage, you need to bounce along on the opportunities, because the opportunities that are coming out of this have never been greater. It's almost is in a way it's leveling the playing field, and out of this will anybody who can just bounce and are able to adapt and change will survive, and the people who hold on to the old concept will end up with going through a lot of trauma and eventually disintegrating. So this is a positive video for the likes of us. Anybody who watches my stuff, and a load of other people I know, you wouldn't be watching it. You get the odd idiot who watches it just to try and put you down, but you wouldn't be watching it if you thought there wasn't anything of value that I'm saying here. And if you've made it through this far, despite the fact I'm talking about my boring self, what I'm trying to do is paint a picture of where we're going. Because if you can remain on that, keep that mind open, is to accepting the opportunity, see this as nature's way of sort of leveling the playing field, albeit made by decisions by certain people in an authority that's put us into this situation. Remember, they're not in charge either. There's a big picture, which when you look at the bigger picture, you start to see that everything is joined. Everything's joined together. There's no single event that targets you as an individual. There's pokes and prods for everybody, and when you step back and look at the world from a greater perspective, you'll see those things come align and be perfectly aligned for you in hindsight. So just keep your minds open, take your opportunities, and look within.